Alright, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Call Halal Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, double honesty, apostles of great millstone, and salutation to you brothers pushing the word in sincerity and truth. This is a video that I want to do, another episode of History and the Law. We take a look into the history, and you know, we might delve into the law a little bit. Now, I want to get into this quick chapter. It's in the book of Joshua. Joshua, the 8th chapter. Now, as the children of Israel were established in the land, there were many wars that the Lord commanded them to fight, and the Lord taught them tactics of how you're going to go in and take this enemy out. And here's an example in this chapter of how Joshua conquered the king Ai. Now, this is Joshua 8:1. It says, "And the Lord said unto Joshua, Fear not, neither be thou dismayed. Take all the people of war with thee, and arise, go up to Ai. See, I have given into thy hand the king of Ai, and his people, and his city, and his land. And thou shalt do to Ai and her king, as thou didst unto Jericho and her king. Only the spoil thereof, and the cattle thereof, shall ye take for a prey unto yourselves. Lay thee in ambush for the city behind it." So Joshua arose, and all the people of war, to go against Ai. And Joshua chose out 30,000 mighty men of valor, and sent them away by night. And he commanded them, saying, Behold, ye shall lie in wait against the city, even behind the city. Go not very far from the city, but be ye all ready. And I and all the people that are with me will approach unto the city, and it shall come to pass, when they come out against us, as at the first, that we will flee before them. For they will come out against us, till we have drawn them from the city. For they will say, They flee before us, as at the first. Therefore we will flee before them. Then ye shall rise up from the ambush, and seize upon the city. For the Lord your power will deliver it into your hand. And it shall be, when ye have taken the city, that ye shall set the city on fire, according to the commandment of the Lord shall ye do. See, I have commanded you. So Yahweh Bashim Yahushua commanded the children of Israel to seize one of the city of the heathen, mainly I believe it was the Canaanites, seize their city and set fire upon it. Okay, and the Lord said, I have given the city into your hands. So it was basically a done deal. It says, this is verse 7. It says, Then ye shall rise up from the ambush, and seize upon the city, for the Lord your power will deliver it into your hand. And it shall be, when ye have taken the city, that ye shall set the city on fire, according to the commandment of the Lord shall ye do. See, I have commanded you. See? And then the Lord was with them to set a city on fire, set another nation's city on fire. That's how the Lord operates, and it was a commandment of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. It was a commandment of the Most High to do that. And going into let me bring out this precept real quick. Because this was an act of war. This is Exodus 15:3. It says, The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name, Yahweh. Yahweh is a man of war. Yahweh is his name. He is the be. All right, back in verse 9, Joshua 8:9. Joshua therefore sent them forth, and they went to lie in ambush in a bow between Bethel and Ai, on the west side of Ai. But Joshua lodged that night among the people. And Joshua rose up early in the morning, and numbered the people, and went up, he and the elders of Israel, before the people to Ai. And all the people, even the people of war that came with him, went up and drew nigh, and came before the city, and pitched on the north side of Ai. Now there was a valley between them and Ai. And he took about 5,000 men, and set them to lie in ambush between Bethel and Ai on the west side of the city. And when they had set the people, even all the host that was on the north of the city, and their lairs in wait on the west of the city, Joshua went that night into the midst of the valley. And it came to pass, when the king of Ai saw it, that they hasted and rose up early, and the men of the city went out against Israel to battle, he and all his people, at a time appointed before the plain. But he wist not that there were lairs in ambush against him behind the city. It says, and Joshua and all Israel made as they were beaten before them, and fled by the way of the wilderness. So here is this King Ai. He sees Joshua and his company, and he goes right after him, not knowing that there's other Israelites behind the city waiting for the command to go in and take the city. Once that host, the host of Ai, his army left the city to follow after Joshua and his band. Okay? And this says, and Joshua and all Israel made as if they were beaten before them, and fled by the way of the wilderness. So Joshua and his company fled by the way of the wilderness, and all the people that were in Ai were called together to pursue after them. And they pursued after Joshua and were drawn away from the city. And there was not a man left in Ai or Bethel that went not out after Israel. And they left the city open and pursued after Israel. So this was a great blunder on the king's part, Ai, because he didn't know that he left the city wide open for another band of Israelites, another army, or another host of Israelites to come in and take the city. And it says, and the Lord said unto Joshua, stretch out the spear that is in the hand towards Ai, for I will give it into thine hand. And Joshua stretched out the spear that he had in his hand towards the city. And the ambush arose quickly out of their place, and they ran as soon as he had stretched out his hand, and they entered into the city and took it in haste and set the city on fire. And when the men of Ai looked behind them, they saw, and behold, the smoke of the city ascended up to heaven, and they had no power to flee this way or that way, and the people that fled to the wilderness turned back upon the pursuers. So they're pursuing after Joshua, you know, to take a spoil of Israel, and they look back upon their own city, and their city caught fire. You know, their city was on fire, man, and everything that they beloved, even their women, were back in the city, you know, and they were had in derision. They were caught up in confusion. It says, and when Joshua and all Israel saw the smoke, saw that the ambush had taken the city, and that the smoke of the city ascended, then they turned again and slew the men of Ai. So when they saw that, when Joshua and his company saw, they turned back around, and they went to kill the men of Ai that pursued them, because Yahweh Bashim Yahushua was with them. It says, and the other issue out of the city against them, so they were in the midst of Israel, some on this side and some on that side, and they smote them, so that they let none of them remain or escape. So they were the men of Ai and the men of Bethel that pursued after Israel. They were scattered. You know, they didn't know what to do. They couldn't run back to the city, because in their city was no refuge. It was on fire. And if they turned back, you had Joshua and his company on their ass. And Joshua and his company slew, and they didn't let any man go out of those cities. Verse 23, and the king of Ai they took alive and brought him to Joshua. And it came to pass, when Israel had made an end of slaying all the inhabitants of Ai in the field in the wilderness wherein they chased them, and when they were all fallen on the edge of the sword, so it was a great slaughter upon the men of Ai, until they were consumed, that all the Israelites returned unto Ai and smote it with the edge of the sword. And so it was that all that fell that day, both of men and women, were 12,000, even all the men of Ai. So all the men of Ai were put to death, and the women were put to death. You know, it says, for Joshua drew not his hand back, wherewith he stretched out the spear until he had utterly destroyed all the inhabitants of Ai. So that's an example of slaughter, of genocide, because you had the Israelites killing another nation. And it says, only the cattle and the spoil of the city Israel took for a prey unto themselves, according unto the word of the Lord which he commanded Joshua. And Joshua burnt Ai and made it a heap forever, even a desolation unto this day. And the king of Ai he hung on a tree until eventide. And as soon as the sun was down, Joshua commanded that they should take his carcass down from the tree and encase it at the entering of the gate of the city, and raise thereon a great heap of stones that remain unto this day. So when you get into the law of a man hanging, let me see if I have it. You get into the law of a man hanging, right? I believe this is it goes into Deuteronomy 21. Deuteronomy 21 and 23. So this is the law of hanging a man on a tree. Alright, so Deuteronomy 21 and 22 says, it says, and if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but thou shalt in any wise bury him that day, for he that is hanged is accursed of the Most High, Yahweh, that thy land be not defiled, which the Lord thy power giveth thee for an inheritance. So Joshua kept that commandment by hanging the king of Ai upon a tree, right? And taking them down and putting them at the gate. Okay, Shalaki. Alright, so back in we're gonna read that again back in Joshua the 8th chapter. Joshua 8 and 29, it says, and the king of Ai he hanged on a tree until eventide, and as soon as the sun was down, Joshua commanded that they should take his carcass down from the tree and cast it at the entering of the gate of the city, and raise thereon a great heap of stones that remaineth unto this day. Then Joshua built an altar unto the Lord Yahweh of Israel, the Lord power of Israel, in Mount Ebal. Okay? And it says, and Moses the servant of the Lord commanded the children of Israel, as it is written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of whole stones, over which no man have lifted up any iron. And they offered thereon burnt offerings unto the Lord, and sacrificed peace offerings. Okay, so and we have another law in the book of Deuteronomy 27 and 6. The book of Deuteronomy 27 and 6, it says, thou shalt build the altar of the Lord thy power of whole stones, and thou shalt offer burnt offerings thereon unto the Lord thy power. And thou shalt offer peace offerings, and shalt eat there, and rejoice before the Lord thy power. And thou shalt write upon the stones all the words of the law very plainly. So after Joshua had undertaken that conquest which the Lord had commanded, they rejoiced in the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, and he built the Lord an altar, according to the law of Moses. Alright? 31. As Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded the children of Israel, as it is written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of whole stones, over which no man have lifted up any iron, and they offered there on burnt offerings upon the Lord, and sacrifice peace offerings. And he wrote there upon the stones a copy of the law of Moses, which he wrote in the presence of the children of Israel. and all Israel and their elders and officers, their judges, stood on the side of the ark, and on the side before the priests, the Levites, which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, as well the stranger as he that was born among them, half of them over against Mount Gerizim, and half of them over against Mount Ebal, as Moses the servant of the Lord had commanded before, that they should bless the people of Israel. And afterwards he read all the words of the law, the blessings and cursings, according to all that is written in the book of the law. So they read Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, the book of Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, to the congregation of Israel. It says, there was not a word of all that Moses commanded which Joshua read not before all the congregation of Israel, with the women and the little ones and the strangers that were conversant among them. So this is the book of Joshua, the 8th chapter, when the Lord delivered the enemy into Joshua's hand by ambushes. You know, so this is another scripture proving that the Lord is a man of war, and how Israel established the land of Israel was through conquest, through war. You know, so with that, I just want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bashim Yahushua, double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to you brothers that's pushing the word in sincerity and truth. Until the next episode, Shalom.